This is Ray Holman, UAW Local 6000 Legislative Liaison. Today is September 30th, and I'm here with former City of Lansing Mayor David Hollister. And we're really excited to have the mayor here today. In fact, there's going to be a movie all about the UAW and GM and the City of Lansing in this region. And the movie, in fact, is called Second Shift Crisis to Collaboration. And Mayor Hollister, first of all, welcome to the UAW Local 6000.
Thanks, Ray.
Can you give us a little bit of background, first of all, about your career before we go into the movie?
Well, I was a school teacher. I taught at Eastern High School, and I taught at Cristo Rey, kids that had dropped out of school, for 10 years. I was a county commissioner in Ingham County for 6 years. I served in the legislature for 20 years, representing Lansing, and then went over to City Hall, ran the city for 10 years as mayor. Then Governor Granholm asked me to join her administration, so I spent 4 years there as the director of the Department of Labor and Economic Growth. And then President Simon asked me to head up an effort at Michigan State University called Prima Civitas. And so for the last 5 years, I worked on promoting research and economic development, to getting the university more engaged in economic development. So that's kind of my career, seven different careers.
Wow, that's fantastic. So you got a little bit of experience, is what we might say. But, you know, we're here today to talk about the time period when you were the mayor of Lansing. And this was a critical time period in the 90s, in the late 90s. And in fact, you know, our local represents the entire state, and I know the state employees that work here in the Lansing area are probably familiar with the story, but there was a time when GM actually almost left Lansing, almost left mid-Michigan. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I got a call and a knock on my door from Ed Donovan, as the vice president of General Motors, shortly after I was mayor. I've been there about a year, and he said, I've got some good news and I got some bad news. And I said, well, what's the good news? And he said, we're going to be launching this centennial series of cars. We're going to make the Intrigue, the Alero, and the, what was the other one? Anyway, the Aurora.
Yeah.
And then we're going to celebrate the 100th birthday of Oldsmobile. We're going to have people from all over the country come to Lansing. We're going to have this good big celebration. And we're going to build the Alero right here in Lansing. So that's great news. What's the bad news? And he said, well, after 5 years, when this cycle is done, and that's generally the life cycle of new cars, we're going to be closing all the Lansing operations. It's not official yet, but the oldest buildings are 100 years old. We can't justify anymore. We're going to be leaving.
Wow. And you know, as a local that represents state employees, a lot of our spouses work at GM, work in the automobile industry, and obviously the departments where we provide critical services depend on revenues. And so this would have been devastating for the city of Lansing. So what in fact happened? What did you guys end up doing about that?
It's been devastating to the entire region. If you want to see a community that's been impacted, look at Flint, where they went from 50,000 UAW workers to about 5,000. We were looking at the same thing. So it impacts not just your auto industry, but the boys club, the churches, the service clubs, the restaurants, the movie theaters, the bowling alleys. I mean, everybody's impacted. This is a multiplier of generally 8 or 9 jobs to one. So I organized a regional community effort. We got the university involved. We got the business community involved. We got the labor leaders involved, and we formed a blue ribbon committee to keep GM. And the chamber had a traditional retention and, you know, attraction effort. But I didn't think that would be adequate. I really thought we needed to rally the forces. And over a period of about 5 years, we reversed that decision. So going from losing 15,000 UAW workers and the multiplier that would have been, and the $1 billion a year impact on just the Lansing region, we went from that to picking up 2 new plants and eventually 3 new plants. And since we finished this successful operation and I left the mayor's office, they've invested just over $1 billion in ongoing investment, with the Camaro coming and the logistics center and the stamping plant. I mean, so it just keeps on giving. So it's been a tremendous story, and our ace in the hole was our organized labor. We said it then. We had the best UAW leadership in the country. Art Baker, Ralph Shepard, Tiny Sherwood. We dedicated this movie to them. All three have passed away, but all three were critical to this operation. And in the movie, you'll hear the Vice President of General Motors say that they have the highest respect for Art and Ralph and the UAW leadership. And this shows what can happen in a community where you come together and collaborate, and you do it in a transparent, participatory, diverse way so that all the parties, all the stakeholders are at the table, and you go for a win-win situation. Right now, our business and political leaders all seem to be looking at win-lose, and it's polarized, and it's adversarial, and we brought a strategy that says that we're going to make this win-win. We're going to play with our ace in the hole of labor, and we're going to honor them all the way through the process. And so here we are now with two new plants and the best product, the #1 car, quality cars, and a rebirth of the auto industry, and it all happened right here in Lansing, Michigan.
It's really a fantastic story, and it's really probably the most significant occurrence that happened, I would say, in Lansing, as you said, in the region. Things would be much better today if it wasn't for your leadership. And what I really love about the story, and you mentioned it, is the collaboration between the UAW, between business leaders, between the company, and everybody, coming together for a good outcome. And that's just what we had. And you're absolutely right. We've got the Camaro coming in. We've had award-winning cars here produced right here in Lansing. The ATS was a car of the year. The CTS was a car of the year. So it's been a fantastic outcome. And the thing that's so important to remember is, this affects not just this region, but actually the entire state. And again, as us UAW Local 6000 state employees, those are revenues that give us the ability to perform critical functions in state government. And so everything is just so connected. In fact, we have a short clip on the movie we'd like to show you. And after that, we want to talk about the premiere on WKR.
That part of your brain off. How do we make this fit into our overall goal? My goal at that time was a world-class city, to be a member of a thriving community. Well, this is one of the most majestic boulevards in the state. Michigan Avenue really represents two pillars of the economy: the state government, Michigan State University. The third pillar, when I was mayor, was General Motors. And at that time, they had close to 15,000 direct and indirect jobs.
So, Mayor Hausser, can you kind of talk about this movie that's coming up that highlights your accomplishments and the UAW's accomplishments? It's called Second Shift, Crisis to Collaboration. We understand it's going to be on WKR in October 7th. Can you tell us about that?
We've been working with the Public Television Network. In fact, WTET in Detroit played it over Labor Day weekend, and we'll be playing it again. And we've got an agreement from all the public television stations in Michigan that they're going to play this in the month of October. So the story will get out there. The Lansing region, WKR, will broadcast October 7th at 10 o'clock in the evening. And after that plays, it'll be online. So you could go on if you missed it, or if you wanted to take portions of it and use it in your training programs or to honor workers. It's an hour program. It's an inspiring program. And it's one where we have local people do the score. The music in it is done by a local guy. Message makers produce the film. The student that the guy, the main producer, this is his first documentary. We've already won a couple of awards, and so we're pretty excited about it. We hope people will tune in on the 7th and take a look at it and find ways to get this message out, because I think this applies to Congress, applies to our state legislature, and our various communities are facing different kinds of crises. If you work together, if you set a common goal, if you have your trusted partners at the table, even though you might have major disagreements, if you focus on a win-win, you can meet these challenges, and we're not going to be looking like Jamestown and a lot of other communities where the plants went down. And if people want to see the contrast, look at those communities like Flint, where there was a major disinvestment. And what we've been able to do here is reverse that decision and see a continued growth of this major economic driver. Even though the industry is diversified and there's fewer workers, more technology, those are still darn good jobs, and the multiplier is there.
That's right. And so, Mayor Hoster, in summary, we want to thank you for your service, all your years of service in state government, and also thank you for the work you did in terms of, again, working with the different partners, labor, the business community. And, you know, I can't overemphasize how important that work was. And things would be quite different today if it wasn't for that. And we really appreciate you taking the time to come in and talk about this. So remember, October 7th, to see the movie, Second Shift, Crisis to Collaboration. I'm Ray Holman, UAW, Local 6000, Legislative Liaison.